The federal government shutdown continues with no end in sight. Hear from the Association of Counties on the impact New Yorkers are feeling. Hello and welcome to Empire State Weekly. I'm John Gray.
And I'm Jamie DeLine. The federal government shutdown remains throughout this weekend, and there are no signs of it coming to an end anytime soon.
At the heart of the issue is a disagreement over health care policy. Republicans want to pass a temporary funding bill as is, but Democrats are demanding Republicans reverse some cuts to Medicaid and extend the expiring subsidies.
Across the nation and here in New York, federal employees are either working without pay or have the option of being fired or furloughed. Governor Kathy Hochul reacting to the shutdown this week, focusing on the impact this will have on workers.
Public servants dedicated their lives to this country. And now they're being told, no paycheck, no certainty. Go figure it out on your own. That's the real human toll of this shutdown.
Republican Congresswoman Lee Stefanik is laying the blame on Democrats, saying, quote, once again, New York Democrats, cheered on by Kathy Hochul, are putting hardworking New Yorkers and Americans last because they are forcing a government shutdown by concocting an unrelated policy issue that doesn't even come up legislatively until the end of the year.
Joining me now to give additional insight on how this shutdown is impacting New York is Stephen Aquario. He's the executive director of the New York State Association of Counties. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So first and foremost, for viewers who may not quite understand what's going on, what exactly is a shutdown?
Well, I think it's important for our viewers to understand what's going on here in the United States. A federal government shutdown means technically that there's a lapse in appropriations, meaning the Congress, not necessarily the president here, although we see the president on the news every minute, all day long, it's really the Congress here that we're talking about. This is the United States Senate and the United States House of Representatives. There was a package of 12 appropriation bills that were passed earlier in the month by the House of Representatives. When that package was sent to the United States Senate, they were shy 5 votes. In the Senate, you need 60 votes to put that on the floor, and then those package of bills are passed by a simple majority, or 51 votes, when it hits the floor. Here, 5 votes short of passing these appropriation bills by the Senate. That means the government had to shut down because federal agencies did not have money. A lot of programs expired on September 30th, and those are the programs that we are concerned about right now in New York State, these programs that may have expired. Governmental agencies, programs, services all have dates and deadlines tied to them. And the Congress appropriates money, the American taxpayer money, to fund these federal programs all across the United States and certainly right here in the state of New York. So it's a lapse in appropriation that happened on October 1st.
Now, I know you mentioned programs. What are the exact programs that are being impacted here in New York State?
I think it's important for New Yorkers to know that certain programs like child health insurance programs, Medicaid, Medicare, your Social Security benefits, those checks are going to be delivered. Many services for veterans will continue. However, there are other types of programs like Social Security eligibility. Those programs, maybe it's a passport recertification or an eligibility for a new passport, or programs such as temporary assistance to needy families. These are the working poor who require governmental assistance. Those programs like TANF, it's called, the Temporary Assistance to Needy People, or other social service programs or county or adult protection programs, supplemental nutrition assistance programs. These are called human service programs that are largely funded by the federal government. Many of these programs had expiration dates of September 30th, 2025. So these programs technically do not have a reauthorization right now for funding. What does that mean for New Yorkers? What does that mean for county government officials that I represent? We don't know. We're waiting right now to see if the state of New York has sufficient reserves in these federal programs to continue to provide them. Programs for women, infants, and children, or what's called the WIC program, or Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. These are food programs for food security for families. We don't know how much in reserves the state of New York has. The state is evaluating this right now, and the longer this goes on, the more these types of programs are put in jeopardy. You might think, if you're traveling in an airport, will the TSA be functioning? The Transportation Security Administration. Of course, these are the people that screen us to make sure when we fly, flying is safe. Many of these individuals are called essential employees right now. Whether you're working in the airports or on railroads or certain other federal jobs around the country, the administration has named certain occupations as essential. So they are going to be working, but they're working without pay. It's called a furlough. They're not going to get that paycheck. They'll get it when the government is back functioning and has appropriations. And other employees that are deemed non-essential, unfortunately, will be laid off or perhaps even lose their job. So a lot of uncertainty right now. A lot of these categories fall into human service programs, but folks should know that their Social Security checks, Medicaid, Medicare benefits, those will continue.
I know you said the state is looking into their reserves, but do you think that counties have enough money in their reserves to help out if the state can't or doesn't?
Well, the way these programs are functioned in the United States is there are federal appropriations. Those funds go to states. The federal government does not have a direct relationship with local governments. The relationship is with the 50 states. So the states will receive funds from the federal government. Right now, the federal government is technically shut down. They're not appropriating new monies. So what's happening here is counties will provide these programs. We are the unit of government where state and federal policy actually becomes public services, from roads to emergency response, elections to Medicaid. Many people don't understand the role of county governments, but New York's county governments are very different from the county governments across the United States in that we administer all federal health and human service programs. So all public assistance programs, aging, all those programs that are going out to help the poor, the working poor, health insurance type related programs are run through counties. We are doing this now, and then we seek reimbursement from the state, who seeks reimbursement from the federal government. That's the structure that we have right now. The counties are not in any position in anywhere in New York State to carry the debt of the federal government or the debt of the state government. So we rely on these funds. Right now, we're evaluating the impact. We don't see an immediate impact right now in services to the poor, programs for the poor or the working poor, health insurance programs. But if the longer this goes on and the more protracted this debate continues, the more put in jeopardy these types of programs and services will become. And so that's why everyone is on edge right now. Everyone is evaluating the longevity of this shutdown. The Congress is divided. The states are divided, and some of that division appears to be centered around a 2012 law that President Obama passed called the Affordable Care Act. And when that law was passed, there were other tax incentives that were given to health insurance employers, states, businesses to provide health insurance, meaning if businesses didn't provide health insurance, the United States set up a system. In New York, it's called the Essential Plan. And these states and businesses and employers used these funds and relied on these funds to provide health insurance. Well, certain members of Congress want those funding restored. They were removed or cut. They were not removed. They were reduced by the big, beautiful bill that was passed by the Congress a few months ago. And now these discussions continue over whether or not these types of programs should be restored. And so we remain providing these public services to the public, but it's a matter of time when these will be a challenge for us to continue, and that just remains to be seen what the impact will be here as we go forward.
All right, we'll have to leave it right there. Stephen Aquario, thank you so much for joining us. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on this.
My pleasure. Thanks again for having me.
Immigration, one of the main issues between lawmakers during the shutdown, continues to see developments.
As tensions flare in New York City court, we hear from an immigration expert on how the shutdown is impacting the immigration process in the state.
Welcome back to Empire State Weekly. With the federal government shutdown happening, many are asking what impact this could have on border security and immigration.
Customs and Border Protection, Homeland Security, and ICE are all considered essential employees, which means they're required to keep working. According to the Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, more than 200,000 employees will be working without pay. They won't see a paycheck until lawmakers in D.C. agree on a budget.
This coming as tensions remain high in New York City's immigration court. This week we saw an ICE officer shove a journalist during a tense moment in the hallway of the Manhattan courthouse. ICE characterizing the incident as, quote, agitators obstructing operations. One photographer had to be taken out of the court on a stretcher after the incident. On the topic of immigration, a controversial move by the president involving a new fee of sorts on foreign nationals coming into the country. No small fee either, I should say. Joining us once again to give insight and analysis on all of this, Sienna Freeman-Tolbert. She's a lawyer and immigration expert from Whiteman, Osterman, and Hanna. You're located in Albany, but you've got several offices, right?
Yeah, we have several offices, and we have down in Poughkeepsie and, other places in Albany as well.
Gotcha. So let's talk, we got a bunch of stuff to cover, but let's talk about this fee. So it seemed to come out of nowhere, this $100,000. Explain what this was.
We were definitely shocked by it. It happened last Friday. He signed a proclamation basically saying that anyone entering the U.S. in H-1B status would have to pay a $100,000 fee. And unless you had to pay if you came on September 21st. So we spent all of Friday night and most of Saturday trying to get all of our H-1B visa employees back into the country urgently. By the close of business on Saturday, they had clarified. And basically they said that anyone that had a visa already approved prior to September 21st, they could enter without paying that $100,000 fee. But anyone after that date, as it stands right now with this proclamation, they would have to pay that $100,000 fee. Now, how do they pay it? We don't know. But right now, most of the attorneys, we are not doing any new H-1B visas for anyone outside the country because we're afraid that when they come in, it may trigger that $100,000 fee.
Now, I know the government is currently in a shutdown. Can you talk about how that is impacting immigration at all?
Not much, surprisingly not that much. We have in our courts right now, we thought that the non-detained docket, people who are currently not in detention, that would be shut down, but they are moving forward. So non-detained is moving forward, considered essential. Detained docket in the courts is moving forward. ICE is still doing operations currently. We are still able to submit applications through USCIS. The Department of State is up and running. So the only agency that impacts immigration that is shut down is the Department of Labor. And that does have a high impact for our H-1B visa employees because we use the Department of Labor for that process.
You represent a lot of clients who are trying to stay within the bounds of the law and just get here, get a job, contribute. We're seeing a lot of pushback. We saw it this week in Portland, and I'm hearing stuff about investigations now of ICE agents pepper spraying somebody who maybe didn't deserve it. I'm sure they'll look at the videos and figure all that out. What do you advise your clients with all of these protests things? Stay clear of it if you can, or what's your advice to people?
We're saying, especially to our F1 student visa holders, our H-1B visa holders, we're telling them to stay clear. This is not the time to get involved. We are seeing an increase in scrutiny for even our H-1B visa holders. They're having to go to biometrics that they didn't used to do to check and make sure they have not had any criminal incidences since they got their H-1B visa. So they're being highly scrutinized. So we are recommending that they stay clear of that. What we're seeing is interesting, right? Because we're seeing a lot of more hurdles for our legal immigration. So before you came as a student, then you became an H-1B visa holder, and then eventually you got a green card. That was the way it went. But now we're watching and seeing that they're being more scrutinized, and people are wondering, will they be able to get a green card and remain here in the U.S.?
And how many people are looking to come to the U.S. here locally in the Albany area? Do you have a rough number?
Well, we have a lot of institutions here. We have, RPI, we have Marist, we have UAlbany, and a lot of international students were coming here to do research. And so a lot of what we did was dealing with those researchers, getting their green cards, having them stay in the country legally. But now, if funding is reducing, so we're seeing a lot of funding and grants are going away for research, and so now those opportunities are gone. And so we are going to see a reduction, I expect, over the next several years in individuals coming to the area.
If I could circle back where we started a little bit, because I wanted to ask a follow-up on that one. The $100,000, and I know you guys are reacting and trying to get people in, and they're saying your grandfather did if you already had your, I'm going to ask the simple question, is this even legal, or is this going to be challenged in the courts? Because I feel like a lot of this stuff eventually is going to trickle up to go up to the Supreme Court, and they're going to have to step in.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing right now. So on that Saturday when we were trying to get people back in the country, a class action was being formed right away. But once they rolled back and clarified, now we have more time to kind of determine who our class is, determine what actually are the parameters, because we have not seen the regulations and policies surrounding the $100,000 yet. So we're trying to wait for that but they are forming a class action and they are getting ready to sue. And so our expectations is that there will probably be an injunction and that this will not be in place over in the next quarter or so. And that's our hope. But we are forming, putting together litigation for sure.
What would you like people to know that something maybe they don't realize when it comes to the whole immigration issue?
I think a lot of people don't realize the impact that it has on our economy in terms of just simply take one sector of how immigration, a lot of international students, for example, come to the Albany area and they pay a lot of money to go to school here, and then a lot of them stay here and they get their H-1Bs legally, and they are able to become green cards legally, and they contribute to the economy. And I think a lot of people don't realize the impact and what's going to happen if you don't have international students coming to the country, because they help a lot of scholarships for U.S.-born students to go to the schools, and so those kind of things all balance out sometimes. I don't think people realize that all the time.
Does it frustrate you? We only got about 30 seconds left, but does it frustrate you when you hear people say, well, we need, even well-meaning people, well, we need somebody to pick our crops, so you don't want to, and I kind of wince a little bit saying, well, not everybody here coming to the country is picking crops. There are a lot of people who are getting master's degrees and maybe going to the STEM fields. And
yeah, it is. It's a little, as someone that is in the field, I know what it costs for employers to have H-1B workers, right? They have to hire people like me to do these types of petitions, and there's a cost to having these foreign nationals work for them. It's a lower cost to have a U.S. citizen walk in with their passport and say, I can just work right away. And they are looking for these individuals. That's a lower cost for them. I think people don't realize the cost that's associated with having these foreign nationals, and the reason why they take in that cost is because they can't find the worker. And so that's what happens.
Gotcha.
All right.
We'll have to leave it there. Sienna, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Always interesting talking to you about this stuff. All right, a feud brewing between New York and Oklahoma now over a single commercial driver's license. Why New Yorkers' licensing process is being called into question, and what state officials are saying about the federal guidelines. Welcome back. The governor of Oklahoma posting a picture on social media of a New York State commercial driver's license that was issued to a person who is not a United States citizen.
I caught up with the New York State DMV about the post and the policy that motivated it. Here's what I found. Governor Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma posted this on X, a picture of a commercial driver's license with information redacted. He said, quote, if New York wants to hand out CDLs to illegal immigrants with, quote, no name given, that's on them. The moment they cross into Oklahoma, they will answer to our laws. He went on to say that 125 illegal immigrants were apprehended along I-40. New York State Republicans have criticized New York State's green light law, allowing New Yorkers 16 and older to apply for standard driver's licenses regardless of their citizenship. However, according to the New York State DMV, the driver's license referenced by the Oklahoma governor was not issued under the green light law. The DMV added that it's also not uncommon for people from other countries to have only one name and cited a U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services policy manual. When asked about the license, Governor Hochul had this to say.
Trying to grasp at anything they can, even wildly fabricated stories, despite the fact that this person was lawfully here received this lawfully. You're allowed legally under federal and state laws to accept one name. There was not 0 names, so it's just one name out of 2 that are, so it's all made up.
The New York State DMV statement said in part, quote, "This commercial driver's license was issued in accordance with all proper procedures, including verification of the individual's identity through federally issued documentation. The individual has lawful status in the United States through a federal employment authorization and was issued a license consistent with federal guidelines." I asked Assemblyman Robert Smullen about his thoughts on the DMV's statement.
I don't know if that's the case, because apparently this person had, some sort of status as an asylum seeker. And those rules have changed actually from the previous administration to the current administration. And I think New York should be complying with the current federal guidelines because this has to do with interstate commerce. And we want to make sure that everyone that's given a New York State driver's license is done so in accordance with New York State law, but also with federal guidelines and regulations to keep all of our citizens safe.
We reached out to the Oklahoma governor's office for a statement, but have not yet gotten a response.
Stick around. Back with a look at the week ahead in just a bit. Finally, at Empire State Weekly, a criminal case in Albany reigniting debate over assisted suicide in New York. It comes as a bill called Medical Aid in Dying, passed by lawmakers in June, still awaits action from the governor.
The bill would allow terminally ill adults with 6 months or less to live to request and self-administer life-ending medication with approval from a doctor and a mental health evaluation. Supporters have been advocating for this for years, saying it allows people to have more dignity.
Opponents argue, though, against the measure from a moral and religious standpoint, and some have raised concern about abuses in this proposed system. We'll be sure to keep an eye on this and bring you the latest as it develops. For now, from all of us here at Empire State Weekly, I'm John Gray.
And I'm Jamie DeLine. We'll see you here next week.
Don't forget, you can watch Empire State Weekly all over New York State. Here's the full schedule of the show on 10 television stations across the great state of New York.